Will AI replace Somms? Well, not anytime soon. And a Bordeaux vineyard is now being monitored by hyperspectral satellites with lasers. Are tariffs driving an increase in U.S. wine sales? Well, not at all. And DTC is still the key to wine sales. All that and more on this episode of This Week Uncorked. Welcome to episode 93 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, April 27, 2026. I'm Brett Martin from Corkage. If you're not familiar with us, we literally are your number one source for corkage information. What's the corkage at a restaurant? We most likely have it. Do they allow corkage? We have that information. How many bottles can I bring? We've got it. It's all over at corkagejourney.com. You'll also find winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and a whole lot more. And now let's get into this week's wine news. The New York Times, Eric Osmond, explores how diners are increasingly using AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude, Gemini to kind of navigate their restaurant wine lists, especially when ordering wine that feels intimidating or high-pressured. The piece is basically arguing that for now, chatbots are not replacing Somms, as they are kind of helping people more engage with Somms about the wines they're looking at on the list. From the article, while the rise of AI in wine has often elicited nightmarish scenarios of technology replacing sommeliers, or God forbid, wine writers, so far it has largely proven to be a useful tool rather than a fearsome Frankenstein's monster. And yet, if you are knowledgeable about wine, AI, in my experience, will not surprise you. It thinks inside the box, as they say with athletes. The floor is high, but the ceiling is low. You know, what I'm finding is it can really give you some quick down and dirty information. You do need to have it think. You do need to probe it a little bit. As Eric is saying here, there's a whole lot that goes into wine, and it's really kind of very, very narrow. Ignore tasting notes. They're almost always the same. There's just a whole lot around it that is lacking, but there's a whole lot around it that is really good as far as who's the winemaker, where to come from, quickly find things for me around it. I think if you're not getting opinions, but you're asking it to search the web, search the winemaker's database, search for tech sheets on the wine, search for wine reviews around the wine you're looking at, that is really, really helpful because it's giving you not information it may be making up, but kind of real things around that wine, helping you make that decision as well. I'll tell you, there's another great tool over on Vivino. If you have their premium, you actually can just take a picture of the wine list, and it's going to go through, scan the entire wine list, and put the average scores that users have given that wine next to each and every wine, which also can be very helpful in helping you make your decision if it's a big wine list that you've never seen before. So will AI take over the world? Who knows? We shall see, but at least it's not going to take over a Somms job at the moment. And with that, over at the Wine Industry Advisor, they are in a March 19th press release. I know that was a few weeks ago, but I just saw it. They're talking about the Chateau Puy-Barbet. It's an organic estate in Bordeaux that is using hyperspectral satellites to look at their vineyards during this 2026 growing season and collect data on anomalies that could point to like stress, like mildew risk, insect activity, soil moisture, shifts in nutrient imbalances before they're obvious in the field. So something that the winemaker strolling through his vineyards might not yet pick up, but by using hyperspectral analysis from satellites, you might get that. From the press release, while the project begins with an exploratory data analysis, both partners see strong potential for future applications. With more satellites launching in the coming years, hyperspectral Earth observation could become a powerful tool for supporting farmers, improving sustainability, and protecting agricultural ecosystems worldwide. Awesome. So very, very cool. Any tools that farmers have to help them. This is clearly going to go far beyond vineyards and grape growers, but this looks like this could be used for all crops going forward. So shout out to those guys. Good stuff. All right. And moving on over at the drinks business. Catherine Wilcox looks at whether tariff pressure is nudging U.S. buyers to buy more domestic wine. So that was the whole thing. Wine is so cheap over in Europe. We're going to tax it so much that it's expensive it's as expensive as U.S. wines, which is really good for the U.S. consumer, he says sarcastically. So did it make a difference? And the answer is kind of like somewhat, but not cleanly. From the article, for restaurant buyers, getting well-priced imports on menus is becoming an increasingly arduous task. Even while diners are clamoring for that Sancerre, Grant says that at Leonetta, he has no reason to believe that his Manhattan guests are more eager to drink domestic wines, but he notes that the availability of affordable imports may change that. I have absolutely seen prices for imports go up, and that affects how we are forced to price the wines, he says. In many cases, it is how the tariffs are passed along the supply chain. With the 3-tier system, it seems as though they are being passed along at each stage. So instead of being diluted, they are being magnified. Of course, everybody wants to take a bigger cut. But others say domestic wine, even with tariffs on imports, needs to be priced more competitively to really move. Of course it does. I think that's one of the big problems Napa's facing is the price of their wines, as we'll talk about maybe a little later when we talk about our wine of the week. And with that, let's move over to wine business news, where they're talking about the tasting room is vital to direct-to-consumer growth. We talk about this a lot, about over a wine business at the Eastern Winery Expo. There was a seminar on pointing towards how to get visitors in the door at your winery as part of it. But once they're in there, you definitely need to convert them to join your wine club so that you can actually send them wine and they will continue to buy from you. From the article, of the wineries that are enjoying direct-to-consumer growth, the reason appears to be straightforward: getting more people in the tasting room. That is shocking. When asked what was the most effective way to increase direct-to-consumer sales, the top answer among all wineries was more visitors in the tasting room, followed by increasing number of club members, events, and improved marketing. Or many wineries just selected all of the above in the survey. Look, this is blocking and tackling. You've got to have a story around your wine. You have to have a reason to drive people to your tasting room, to drive people to your winery. It is a constant act of marketing. You cannot just grow the grapes. You cannot just make the wine and expect people to come. It just won't happen. You got to have that message around there. You've got to get them into your tasting rooms. We kind of talk about this all the time. Check out that article. It's got some great ideas around that as well. And with that, let's get to our wine and winery of the week. Knights Bridge Winery and Tasting Room in Calistoga. 5 stars. I say we have no scenic views here because it used to be in downtown in an old bank building, but now it has actually moved up the road to about 12 miles, so you do have some scenic views up there. We loved it. This tasting room. It's too bad it's closed. But anyway, Knights Bridge, still in Calistoga, really worth checking out. This is the Bailey family, Essel and Jim Bailey, and their wives, McKenna and Kelly. They basically have put this thing together as a true family winery. And there's another couple, Cindy and Tom Costin. Basically, the 3 couples left their careers in the investment world and the business world to create a new dream centered around making world-class wine in California. Tastings are $30 to $50. Their wine is outstanding. It is ridiculously good. So if you are up in Calistoga, check them out. Our wine of the week in this case is the Knights Bridge Cabernet Sauvignon from 2007. A little Bordeaux-inspired masterpiece, basically, but it's $200 a bottle. We did rate it 98 points. It's Colin Vineyard, and Dr. Crane Vineyard fruit. It's captivating. It's just killer. The whole thing. You can't go wrong with this wine. But as we were talking about earlier, it's $200 a bottle, and that's a lot. You can find great wine for, considerably less as well. I mean, this is Galante family vineyards here. This is their Cabernet Sauvignon from 2021. You can get this for around $70 if you look for it. I think maybe in half the price. Still expensive, but you know what? It's a quality Cabernet. So there are other alternatives and other things you can find, and there are going to be some great ratings on them. But you know what? Real estate's expensive. Things are expensive, and this was a killer wine. So if you don't mind it, if you can afford it, that's worth checking out. All right. And with that, let's go to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. Let's go down to Southern California, my old stomping grounds. Trevor's on the tracks in San Juan Capistrano. It is literally on the railroad tracks. Amtrak goes through there all the time. So it's kind of a place where people will go to eat and maybe then just go pick up the train that they're waiting for to get wherever they are going. A nice little restaurant, really decent food. We eat there all the time. It is a place I go back to over and over again. Very lovely casual setting. That's pictures of us getting on the train that day to go to the races down in Del Mar. So as you say, eat there on your way to wherever you're going. Look how snazzy we look. Anyway, if you are down there in San Juan Capistrano, go ahead, check out Trevor on the tracks. You won't forget it. And if you're not jumping on a train anywhere, then just walk right across the parking lot to Five Vines Wine Bar. Talked about it before. Say hi to Randy, one of the best wine tasting rooms and restaurants as well in Southern California. One of the best tasting rooms, great wines, great wine dinners. So anyway, it's a twofer. It's a twofer, one parking lot. You only have to pay one parking lot fee, and you get two great places in one. Have lunch at Trevor on the Tracks, walk around, enjoy San Juan Capistrano, and then go have dinner and some wine at Randy's. But you probably want to Uber. Corkage fee over at Trevor on the Tracks is $30 per bottle with a 2-bottle limit. All right, everybody, that is going to wrap up this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe to us on YouTube. We would love it. Follow us on your favorite social media application. If you want to listen to the podcast, subscribe to us on your podcast app, all those things and more. And you know what? While I'm mentioning it, go check out that interview that I did with Jack Galante from Galante Vineyards. It's a classic, and what a great guy. So anyway, thanks, everybody. Till next week. Cheers.